Hi everyone, it's week 2 of module 4, and I'll be going over critical thinking and the different types of philosophical fallacies. So this week I watched a bunch of these lectures from Dr. Seller at Fayetteville State University, and I'll just be giving you guys a quick rundown of the things that he said and some examples to go with as well. Alright, so in order to debate well, you need to know the differences between issues, claims, and arguments. So people make the common mistake of blending these three together in order to manipulate arguments. And a claim is a statement that asserts something to be the case or not to be the case. Opinions are also claims. And claims are not questions, exclamations, or commands. So an exclamation can be something like, ouch, or you're wrong. And an issue is the idea that's being discussed at the moment. So things that are being argued for or against. An argument is just basically a bunch of claims with an argument at the end. And you're trying to get people to accept your claims. And in order for it to be considered an argument, you need to have a conclusion. Otherwise, it's simply just a bunch of claims. I'll give you guys an example of an argument. Taxes go fund schools, libraries, healthcare, food stamps, and roads. And we do not get to choose whether or not we get to pay our taxes or where taxes go. And we also do not get to opt out of certain services provided by the government. Our taxes fund wars overseas and bombing innocent civilians. And if we don't pay up, then we are thrown in prison. Therefore, taxation is that. So notice how I build up my argument in order to ease the opponent into, accepting my claims. All right, on to the first fallacy. The emotional fallacy, the appeal to emotion, as it's called. And it's known as a bad argument of types because it can lead us to very poor conclusions and a lot of assumptions, such as misinterpreting emotions and losing control of our emotions as a result. So if you're angry at one thing, it can also apply to your judgment on another issue. And I'm sure you have someone in your life where once they're angry, they're just completely unreasonable and they just cause this very toxic environment and they just lash out at everyone. Though it can also lead to scapegoating, such as unfairly blaming someone for something they may or may not have caused. So a good example of this is 9/11 and who caused it. So our government went to war in Iraq and Afghanistan. They declared war on those countries, even though they weren't directly responsible at all for the attacks. It was actually the Saudi government who was involved. All right, on to the second fallacy. The appeals to popularity. And basically it is what it sounds like, where many or all people believe something to be true, therefore it must be true. And it's like saying, everyone else is doing it, why shouldn't I? And this ties into getting into peer pressure and stuff like that. But it can be a good thing, such as traditions. Like celebrating Black Friday, going shopping, or celebrating Christmas and Thanksgiving. So there are good aspects of it. It's not entirely bad. Okay, on to the third fallacy. And here Dr. Sadler talks about two wrongs make a right and the red herring fallacies. So two wrongs make a right, we've heard this being commonly said, someone else said X, therefore it's okay for me to do X, therefore X is right. Now, a lot of parents like to tell their kids, do as I say, not as I do. Now, I remember as a kid, my dad would always tell me, alcohol is bad for you. Just avoid alcohol for the rest of your life. It's not good. You do not want to become an alcoholic. And he would say this while he was drinking a beer. And as a kid, I was just very confused because, one, I felt this sort of hypocrisy going on, and two, it was very inconsistent. All right, a red herring. It's distracting one's attention from one topic to another, but still somewhat relating to that topic. It's like saying, if you agree with abortion being legal, you should also agree with murder being legal. Or an abortion is very self-centered. All right, on to the fourth fallacy. So in here, Dr. Saylor discusses the ad hominem, or the personal attack. Now, we see this a lot in political debates, especially with Trump and and Hillary. And actually, in politics, we call this mudslinging, where you will dig up anything you can find about the candidate, or you just make up stuff about them and just like throw it at them in order to make them look bad. It's like digging up racist comments from 20 years ago, even though they changed their position, and then claiming they're a bad person because of this. Alright, and one thing that I learned that was new was the genetic fallacy. And it has nothing to do with genes or family, but it means origins. It's like, for example, discrediting the source or origin in order to discredit the claim. Like, leftists discredit Breitbart for supposedly being racist or bigoted or intolerant. So if someone cites an article from Breitbart, it might be completely true, but they will discredit it completely just because it comes from Breitbart. So you want to be cautious of that as well. And another thing that was discussed in this video was the straw man fallacy. And this one's very common in debates, especially on Facebook. It's distorting, simplifying, or falsifying the opposing argument in order to make your argument stronger. So it's like saying, if you're pro-life, then why don't you adopt kids yourself? Or if you're pro-life, then you don't want women to have a choice. That's distorting the argument and kind of exaggerating what your opponent has said. Alright, on to the fifth fallacy. The false dilemma and slippery slope. So, a false dilemma is being stuck with between one or two choices. So it's a binary choice. It's either A or B, and if it's not A, therefore it must be B. So, an example of this is either you come to class or you don't. Or, if you don't vote for Hillary, then you must have voted for Trump. So obviously, that's a false statement because there are a bunch of other presidential candidates. Now, a slippery slope, it starts off with one small step and then ends in total catastrophe. The basic structure of the argument goes like this. If A happens, then B will happen, and then C, and then D, and then it'll be a complete mess at the end. So, I remember as a kid, during 4th, 5th grade, on to like middle school, there was this program called DARE. And I think it stood for Drug Abuse Resistance Education or something like that. And one of the things they emphasized was weed and how terrible it was, and that it was a gateway drug. And they said weed is a gateway drug that can lead to using crack, heroin, meth, and then you'll become a drug addict and your life would be completely ruined. Now, in order for an argument to be valid, all premises must be true. Now, in this argument that weed is a gateway drug, that's false. Therefore, the entire argument is invalidated. And we know this because actually prescription drugs are the gateway drug. Things like Oxycontin, hydrocodone, those are more commonly abused than weed. And it can lead to, using heroin. Alright, and the other new thing that I learned in this other video, was a perfectionist fallacy. Now, it is what it sounds like. Basically, everything has to be your way, it has to be perfect. If it's not, it'll be completely rejected. And this is a problem because it can waste a lot of time. Alright, on to the last fallacy. Alright, this one is about appeal to ignorance and begging the question. So appeal to ignorance is also called the burden of proof. It's like saying, if you can't prove it, then you're wrong. This can be a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's very common in science, where you make a hypothesis, and you have to prove with evidence why that is the case. But there are other things where, it's one common statement or argument is, science hasn't proven God exists, therefore God can't exist. I need solid evidence of God. And science has a limit on what we're able to know, because it's all dependent on empirical data, empirical evidence. And so this is where philosophy will come in, where we think about the bigger ideas. All right. And then begging the question. So begging the question is basically a circular argument where, it shouldn't even be called an argument at all, because it's simply a premise and that just repeats itself. And there is no conclusion as well. The example of this is, I should wear makeup because cosmetics and beauty products make me look pretty. Now, cosmetics and beauty products, those terms mean the same thing as makeup. And you notice that it's simply just a statement that I said. There's nothing being argued for or against. And a good example of the circular argument is the chicken and egg question. That's a very, very classic circular argument. And it's basically just like saying, what came first? It must be the chicken, because the chicken has to lay the egg. But in order for the chicken to be hatched, it has to come from the egg. And you see the problem here, right? Because it just goes round and around in a circle, and you're just getting nowhere. Alright, so that is the end of my video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.